Morning, Senator, and welcome to our July 16th forum.
Thank you. Good morning.
We've got quite a bit on the agenda today, so I think we'll get started and get into it. Earlier this month, the Massachusetts legislature passed a conference committee budget for fiscal year 2014. Can you talk to us a little about this budget?
Yeah, on Monday, July 1st, the Massachusetts Senate passed a $34 billion fiscal year 2014 budget. It was approved by a legislative conference committee. The committee comprised of 2 members of the majority party and 1 member of the minority party from both the House and the Senate. They agreed on differences between the 2 chambers to include in the final budget.
The final budget depends upon new revenue such as an increase in gas tax, sales tax, on certain computer software services, and an increase in the tobacco tax. The budget also draws $350 million out of the state's rainy day fund.
The budget includes $920.23 million in local aid funding, fully funding the special education circuit breaker with $252,819,241,000 and $4.3 billion in Chapter 70 education funding. Many initiatives that I supported in the budget in May were actually included in the final budget, such as funding the Commonwealth Child Care Rate Reserve by $11.5 million. These are educators who had not seen an increase in salaries since 2006, requiring only providers that prescribe Schedule II or Schedule III opioids to utilize the state's prescription monitoring program. It also allowed the transfer of the former National Guard Armory in Worcester to Veterans, Inc., which is going to expand the current Veterans Homeless Shelter. Also creating a voluntary waiver system for small businesses that wish to use item pricing items and not switch to a consumer price scanner system.
Funding for the Dismas House in Worcester, a program that helps ex-offenders and chronically homeless men recover from drug and alcohol addictions while learning farm skills, and also funding the Massachusetts Manufacturing Extension Program, which trains workers for advanced manufacturing jobs by $2 million. The final budget also includes proposals regarding higher education in the Commonwealth. The budget includes increased funding for UMass, the state universities, and the community colleges, which will allow for an agreeable freeze in tuition and fees at the current level across the public higher education system for 2013-14 school year.
The Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine at Tufts University, the only veterinary school in New England, located in Grafton, also received $4 million in funding based on an amendment that I had sponsored in the Senate budget. The bill includes, again, this is the budget. The bill includes language creating the Bureau of Program Integrity within the Department of Transitional Assistance, an oversight office that would be appointed by the Inspector General, $56 million to cover winter snow and ice removal, and $100,000 in line of duty death benefits for the family of Sean Collier, the MIT officer who was killed by the 2 brothers suspected in the Boston Marathon bombings.
The new fiscal year began on July 1st, 2013. A roughly $4.1 billion interim budget is currently in place to cover spending during July until a final budget is signed into law. On Friday, July 12th, Governor Deval Patrick signed into law the FY 2014 budget, but he vetoed $240 million in transportation finance funding and $177 million in unrestricted local aid associated with the funding.
The governor's vetoes due to a disagreement with the legislature over the adequacy of the legislature's plan to finance investments in the transportation system. He's requesting higher funding, including an increase in the gas tax of at least 6 cents, opposed to the 3% proposed by the legislature. And also what he's basing this on is there's language that was previously passed that would require in 2017 the tolls to be taken down if all bonds were paid on the turnpike and the road was in full repair. Again, and this is where one of the disagreement right now between the legislature and the administration is we're looking at the fiscal year 2014 budget. It's been recommended to the administration if they want to change that language that currently exists in statute, that they should file a separate piece of legislation addressing that to the possible dismantling of the tolls in 2017, because it's not definitive. So again, he's looking 3 years down the road at a fiscal budget that we're just dealing right now with the fiscal budget for 2014.
Senate President Teresa Murray and Speaker of the House Robert DeLeo issued a statement last week on behalf of the legislature to the governor. The statement that the legislature carefully renew proposals that could not increase the revenue further, as it would have a negative effect on Massachusetts families and the state economic recovery efforts. The legislature will now meet to vote on a possible override on the governor's vetoes.
The Senate also passed a supplemental budget on July 1st, which contained several reforms for the state's electronic benefit transfer cards, known as the EBT cards, such as placing photo identification on EBT cards. My amendment to last month's Senate welfare reform required the Department of Transitional Assistance to work with the Registry of Motor Vehicles, the RMV, to use the RMV's current facial recognition data and resources to verify applicants' identities and to prevent fraud, which was included in the supplemental budget.
Since our last taping, I understand that the Senate passed legislation reforming the state's welfare system. Can you talk to us a little about that?
Yeah, on Thursday, June 20th, the Massachusetts Senate passed a comprehensive piece of legislation to reform the state's welfare system. The legislation expands the Senate's 2012 reform efforts to prevent recipients from using their benefits to purchase lottery tickets, alcohol, cigarettes, and using them at establishments such as nail salons.
The reform comes in light of several reports claiming fraud in the state's system, including a report earlier this month from the state's auditor claiming over 1,000 dead recipients were still receiving benefits. The legislation requires applicants for public assistance to prove that they have conducted a job search before receiving benefits. The bill also asks the Department of Transitional Assistance, the DTA, and the Commonwealth Corporation to ramp up efforts to match welfare recipients with jobs, including the development of job diversion programs to connect people with work before they apply to receive benefits.
Both agencies would also be ordered to refashion the full employment program to match welfare recipients with jobs in the private sector or with community colleges and workforce training programs. Eligible participants would be given child care in the first year, and employers would receive a state health care subsidy for taking on the employees. After the first year, employers could take the original full employment tax credit. I also filed an amendment to the legislation to add safeguards to the Commonwealth's EBT benefit transfer card program. The amendment requires DTA to use the Registry of Motor Vehicles' current facial recognition program.
The legislation also requires the DTA to record and track the shipment of and chain of custody for EBT cards, which was supported unanimously. It suspends lottery and liquor licenses for store owners who knowingly accept EBT payments for these services. It penalizes store owners who violate the law by fining the store's owner $1,000 for the first offense, $2,500 for the second offense, and $5,000 for the third and subsequent offense. It requires work participation forms to be verified by a third party under the penalties of perjury. No one subject to a felony warrant can receive EBT card benefits until the warrant is resolved, an amendment that you co-sponsored.
It also institutes a 3-month time limit on placeholder Social Security numbers and suspends benefits for individuals who do not provide a valid Social Security number within the time limit, and allows the crime of EBT trafficking to be prosecuted under the Criminal Enterprise Statute, which is also an amendment which I co-sponsored.
The bill makes several changes to EBT cards by requiring photographs of recipients over the age of 18 on EBT cards by August 1st, 2014, and requiring the Welfare Fraud Hotline and DTA's website to be printed on newly issued EBT cards.
In addition, the bill requires DTA to make additional reports to the legislature on the number of exemptions and extensions granted, how long recipients have been receiving benefits, economic independence goals, cases referred to the Program Integrity Unit, and the results of their investigations. Economic independence accounts opened and recipients receiving cash assistance under one of the eligible non-citizen statuses. The bill now goes to the House of Representatives for consideration.
Senator, recently you were appointed to a committee with the Conference of State Legislatures. Can you discuss with us a little bit about this committee and what it means for the Commonwealth?
Yeah, actually on June 12th, 2013, I was appointed to serve on the Council of State Governments Eastern Regional Conference's Education Committee for 1 year. Basically, I'm looking forward to working with my regional counterparts as a member of the Council to look at key policy initiatives to promote education in the states and help create more policies that make our education system more competitive and an affordable education system for my district and across the Commonwealth.
Committee memberships also provides an opportunity to share ideas and insights with your counterparts from throughout the Northeast and to bring best practices and resources to Massachusetts. The Council of State Government Eastern Regional Conference is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization located in New York City since 1937, and it serves legislative, executive, and judicial branches, officials in 11 northeastern states, as well as the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and 5 eastern Canadian provinces.
The CSG supports the 3 branches of state government through 9 areas of special concern to the region. These include agriculture, criminal justice, economic development, education, energy and environmental, fiscal affairs, healthcare, transportation, and United States and Canada relations. Just going back to the Education Committee, there's actually a conference coming up in September that it's actually being held in Kansas City that right now we're trying to coordinate having a speaker from the vocational school system that we have in Massachusetts to come and speak at this, because throughout the 50 states, Massachusetts actually is considered to have one of the premier systems. So we're trying to get one of our superintendents to come out to Kansas City to explain to the rest of the country all the progress that we've made over the last several years in our vocational school system, and So this is an example of that, we're going to be bringing someone from Massachusetts there to explain our best policies, and in turn other states will bring other speakers to come so that we can hear some of the policy initiatives that they may have implemented that hopefully we can bring back.
Its mission is to promote successful state policy innovations, advocate multi-jurisdictional problem solving, and advocate for regional interests at the federal level, offer leadership training and technical assistance, and forecast policy trends that affect the Northeast.
In this changing economic climate, it is important that we receive and promote our regional priorities at the federal level.
Senator, this year marks the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has made an effort this year to preserve the state's rich Civil War history, which Auburn shares. Can you talk to us about any of the efforts to preserve Auburn's history during this anniversary?
Yeah, nearly $100,000 has been awarded to 23 cities and towns across the Commonwealth, including Auburn, for the preservation of local Civil War memorials and monuments.
The grant program developed by the Massachusetts Civil War Sesquicentennial Commission encourages cities and towns to restore and increase visibility of local monuments and memorials as a continued reminder of many lives lost during the American Civil War.
The Commonwealth has had a tremendous impact in the building and shaping of this great nation. Throughout the U.S. history, especially during the Civil War, Massachusetts residents from across the state quickly answered the call to action to preserve our liberties and way of life, many given the ultimate sacrifice.
It's our responsibility to work together to preserve historical memorials, monuments, and other historical sites to remember these brave men and women who continue to tell their stories to future generations. And I might add that Auburn already is taken the position of with some of this money that's coming from the state to make improvements to these monuments which are deteriorating over the 150 years since the war.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. This is a partnership of the state's Department of Veterans Services, the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities, and the Civil War Sesquicentennial Commission. Hope I pronounced that correctly. The program provides matching grants of up to 50% of a project's total cost, but not exceeding $5,000, to preserve existing Civil War memorials, monuments, and other sites.
Grants were also awarded for construction of new markers for significant historical sites as well as preservation planning. Applicants were either Massachusetts municipalities or nonprofit organizations such as local historical societies and commissions.
The town of Auburn will receive $5,000 to restore and refurbish the Hilltop Obelisk Civil War Monument at the Hillside Cemetery, which honors 14 Auburn residents who served in the Civil War. The funding will also repair the gravestone of Richard Boardman Jennison. His name is inscribed in the monument, who died at Fort Sumter in 1864.
With the commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the Civil War lasting through 2015, the Commission hopes to secure additional appropriations so they can conduct further rounds of grant awards and perhaps expand the programs to include preservation of historic Civil War documents. For more information, visit the Civil War Sesquicentennial Commission's website at www.ma150.org. Again, that's www.ma150.org. Senator, can you share with us Any of the upcoming events that you may be having in Auburn this month?
I'd love to. On July 22nd, I'll be hosting my annual ice cream social for the seniors at the Auburn Senior Center. The ice cream social will begin at 1 p.m. and it's open and free to all seniors. If you have any, for more information, please feel free to contact my office at 617-722-1485.
You will also be hosting constituent office hours on Monday, July 22nd from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Auburn Senior Center. Their office hours are open to all constituents who may need assistance or have questions answered. Constituents are also encouraged to contact your office should they need any assistance.
I know last month, our last segment, we did a breaking news section. Just to, I guess, to continue with that concept, we actually will be, the House is going to session tomorrow, Wednesday, July 17th, to address the possible overrides of the governor's vetoes and the amendments that he sent back as part of the transportation bill. And the Senate will be going in on Thursday, July 18th, to address those issues. I know when the original bills went forth to override a veto, it has to start in the House to go to the Senate. But in each branch, to override a veto, you need a 2/3 vote to override the vetoes. So the House, I think the first time around, I don't think they had the 2/3 vote. So it will be interesting to see if they can get the votes to override the governor's vetoes. The Senate, we had an overwhelming majority. It wasn't even close. So that's, I guess, if we're looking at breaking news, that would be the breaking news. Again, the overriding the vetoes would restore $240 million to the transportation funding in the budget, and also $177 million to local aid that the legislature approved that the governor has vetoed. So hopefully by Friday morning, the legislature will have restored $177 million to local aid.
Okay, I want to again thank you for coming in this morning on the 16th of July, and we look forward to the third Tuesday in August as our next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.